I imagine you've never seen the Titanic like this before. For almost 40 years, this spectacular footage has been kept secret. Now, to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the film adaptation of Titanic, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, it has finally been released to the public. The Titanic sank to the dramatic bottom of the Atlantic on April 12, 1912. It took over 70 years for people to see the most famous shipwreck of all time for the first time. The footage still gives chills today, as does the cult that has grown around the rare artifacts of the Titanic. We will show exciting footage of the first dive throughout the Titanic. In addition, we will present the most curious and valuable memories of the disaster. And we invite you to actively participate in our channel. Leave your comments and tell us your opinion about the video after watching it. Also share with us your experience. We appreciate subscriptions, and in the future we will try to respond to all our subscribers with love. The best comments will be selected and pinned at the top. So be sure to subscribe here to our channel, like the video if you like it, and leave your comment. Now, let's see the footage that nobody has seen before of the sinking Titanic. The Titanic wreck was found, an unprecedented achievement of underwater robots. On the night of April 13, 1912, the largest and most magnificent passenger ship in the Atlantic sank. The fault was a collision with an iceberg that cut the ship in half. The Titanic, considered unsinkable, sent distress signals during the fateful night, but unfortunately no help arrived in time. It was only at dawn that a ship came to the rescue of the few survivors who remained. For a long time, the exact location of the wreck remained unknown, as the ships carrying the survivors had moved several miles away from the disaster site during the night. It was only in 1985 that American naval explorer Robert Ballard, in collaboration with his French colleague Jean-Louis Michel, managed to track down the remains of the Titanic, which were off the coast of Newfoundland. When the remains of the most famous ship of all time appeared on a sonar specially developed for that search, everyone held their breath. The tragedy still had repercussions, and the researchers involved in the search admitted to being deeply moved. Almost a year later, divers from the Roots Group went to the depths and this spectacular recording was made. It was only now shown to the general public. You can see the bow of the ship and the sections of the upper deck. A century after its sinking, images of the Titanic can still deeply move those who see them. The story of the fate of the passengers is known by almost everyone today. Each generation had its impressive cinematic version of the tragedy, with emphasis on James Cameron's acclaimed film. To mark the anniversary of the event, these images were released to the public for the first time shortly after the discovery of the remains. Despite the reluctance of official sites to publish them, due to tourism and treasure hunting around the shipwreck, the truth is that the Titanic became a cult phenomenon that flourished in strange and unexpected ways. However, it is important to remember that this should not be a reason for disrespecting the descendants and relatives of the victims, whose memories must be respected and honored. Titanic artifacts seek the best prices at auctions. In the last century, artifacts from the ill-fated luxury liner were also presumably used for major frauds. For a long time, auction houses specializing in the memory of the Titanic employed specialists who only deal with the authenticity of Titanic objects or related to it. When you see the list of the strangest and most expensive discoveries of the Titanic, you will realize that the trade is very lucrative. The authenticity of the discoveries now on display has been confirmed many times, and the stories are once again exciting and invaluable. Wallace Hartley's violin is one of the most famous objects found in the wreckage. The world would never have known about this bandmaster if he had not gone down with the Titanic. According to eyewitness reports, the band played until shortly before the ship sank in the icy waters. The music was created to calm people, and apparently it worked. The last piece played was the hymn, "Nearer, My God, to Thee." Wallace's violin case was found after the disaster, but there was no trace of the band leader himself. In 2017, an instrument was auctioned for $1,700,000. A pair of white cotton gloves were also found directly among the Titanic's wreckage. According to USA Today, the gloves are among the rarest artifacts found and are part of a private Titanic collection that has been regularly exhibited in exhibitions around the world since 2016. The material has deteriorated greatly, and that is why rare finds have been delivered to a conservation facility. Sheet music belonging to the production of Madame Cherry from 1910 is also on display. According to eyewitness reports, this was one of the songs sung on the upper deck after the iceberg collision. A platform is the ship's lookout point, and sailors watched the ship 24 hours a day to report any obstructions. The bell rung 3 times by Sailor Fleet on the night of the disaster is one of the most exciting objects found in the wreckage. He saw the deadly iceberg, but unfortunately it was too late to change the course of the ship. The collision was inevitable and the crew knew it. Among the few survivors, they worked tirelessly to help passengers get into lifeboats and eventually secured a seat of salvation for themselves. The dedication and effort of the crew were crucial in saving the lives of many people on that tragic night. The menu on the Titanic is a well-known story, and needless to say, only the best food was served on the luxurious liner. The last dinner on the Titanic for first-class passengers included an Argentine steak. In 2012, a collector, who preferred to remain anonymous, bought a rare Titanic artifact for an extraordinary value of $83,000. It is the beaver fur coat of stewardess Mabel Bennett, which she wore on the night of the disaster. The woman later stated that she was on deck dressed only in a thin nightgown, and that an unknown man had put a coat on her. He most likely saved the woman's life, or at least her health. Survivors floated in the sea for hours at temperatures around 4 degrees, thanks to the coat with an old Venetian wrap that was roughly wrapped around them. She died in 1974, at the age of 96, and was the longest living survivor from the Titanic crew. The woman's heirs eventually auctioned off the coat. It had hung in the closet for years, as it was actually too long and heavy for the first-class elderly lady. Today, the coat is considered one of the few fully preserved items of clothing from the Titanic. In 2017, a UK-based auction house specializing in Titanic artifacts auctioned the coat for around $165,000. A passenger's letter is also an object of great historical value. The letter of passenger Oscar Roversan was sold for $166,000 in 2014. The man who traveled in first class recounts his whimsical days on deck. In the letters, he comments on the good people and refined style on board. The letter was sent to Oscar Roberts' mother and dates from the day of the sinking. Overstan was a successful businessman from Minnesota, with Norwegian roots. He did not survive the disaster, and the letter was recovered from the pocket of his body floating in the sea. Finally, a pocket watch belonging to another victim of the sinking also has incalculable value. The watch was exactly set to 1:45 in the morning when the Titanic sank. Shortly after 2 a.m., the last remnants of the ship had disappeared into the sea. The rarest and most expensive artifact of the Titanic is the watch owned by John Chapman, who traveled aboard with his wife Elise. This watch is privately owned and can occasionally be seen in exhibitions. All White Star Line ships traditionally were equipped with bronze angel statues, and cherubs were placed at the top of the stairs. The angel of the Titanic was recovered during a dive in 1985, but the statue is currently missing its left foot. This probably occurred when the figure was torn from its pedestal during the sinking. The recovered keys from the sinking were used to open a box containing supplies of lifeboat lanterns for the lifeboats. As the Titanic had few lifeboats on board, those in charge saved on the lifeboat lantern equipment since the ship was considered unsinkable. The keys were used by crew member Samuel Hammond, who was responsible for the maintenance and care of the Titanic's lighting equipment, and was contemplating the imminent disaster. In James Cameron's film adaptation, a rare jewel is the centerpiece of the Titanic artifacts. It is highly likely that luxury goods, jewels, carriages, and other valuable objects, valued at billions of US dollars, may have sunk with the ship. In fact, most of the valuable objects have probably now been lost in the mud at the bottom of the ocean or diverted by the current. The Titanic is slowly disintegrating, and in a few decades, there may not be much left of this wreckage. Another garment recovered from the wreckage is the waistcoat of William Namreen Ellen, a third-class passenger. The dark woolen waistcoat was sold at an anniversary auction in 2012 for a high five-figure sum. A renowned perfumer was a special guest aboard the Titanic. The chemist was a master of fine fragrances and was on his way to opening his own perfume shop in the United States. He had his basic inventory on board, with a bag full of perfume bottles that were found after the sinking. Despite traveling in first class, the perfumer did not survive the accident. More than 100 years later, the Titanic still evokes strong emotions and endless interest. What do you think of the Titanic, the latest photos, and the cult surrounding this ship? Do you think this emotion is appropriate or exaggerated? Let us know your thoughts and share your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to mention that you're already subscribed and give a like to the video. Until the next video.